since we were talking about fake news, this is going to come up because it's been going on since we've been recording here. Elon and Trump seem to be in a bit of a spat. Joe, you want to check the tweet that Elon just put out a little bit ago?
Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation between Elon and
Have a
Trump.
nice day, DJD. Someone should take his phone away.
They're going back and forth about different things. And
Yeah. Listen,
Well, he said he was disappointed in Elon.
yeah, they told him to leave.
Jesus Christ, that's a crazy thing to say. How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? I mean, does he have access to the Epstein files?
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump-Elon thing. That's way outside my lane.
What the fuck are they doing?
I know my lane, and that ain't it.
I just don't. I mean, I understand he owns Twitter. I think it's bad for your mental health. I think posting things public all day and arguing with people all day is bad for you.
Well,
So lately, political grifting has practically become an Olympic sport within the comedy scene. From Andrew Schulz to Tim Dillon, it feels like comedians suddenly decided they're political experts without actually having any real expertise. Arguably, one of the main figures who started this trend and became its poster boy is none other than Joe Rogan. Strangely enough, there was a time when Rogan could be seen as a non-biased and trustworthy source of information, or at least he made an effort to be. Back in the day, if a guest came on his show and started spouting nonsense, Rogan would call them out and expose them for lying. That gave him a reputation as someone with a backbone. Nowadays, the Joe Rogan Experience has pretty much become a competition for billionaires getting their nuts gobbled up by Rogan, and the pushback from him on guests who are spilling lies is almost non-existent. A perfect example came during his podcast episode with the director of the FBI, Kash Patel. During the episode, Rogan and Patel learned in real time about Elon Musk accusing Trump of being in the Epstein files. And for the first time ever, Rogan didn't blindly agree with Musk. He actually criticized him for it. Now, here's the thing, there's plenty to criticize Musk for. From being one of the cringiest people alive to cutting funding for pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels, but Musk accusing Trump of being in the Epstein files is not one of them. As a matter of fact, if there's someone who should be criticized here, it's Rogan himself, for pretty much giving no pushback to Kash Patel whatsoever, even when he was clearly lying about the Epstein files right to his face.
All pointing towards eliminating this one person that it could be done.
but I mean, so many people have been implicated, right, already, and some of that information, what they did to Prince Andrew and everybody else is already out there, and so that's the conspiracy stuff that me and Bongino and the folks have to say, look, we will give you everything we can, and then we will have done our job. Also, if I had a shred, me, Kash Patel, had a shred of evidence, the Russiagate guy, the Jan 6 guy, the COVID origins guy, had a shred of evidence that this guy was murdered, I would be the first guy to bring this case hard and fast. And I would been doing press conferences every week on it. Mm-hmm. The first guy. That's what I'm asking people to play out to their logical conclusion. I'm not Comey. I'm not McCabe. I'm not the guy that was in the seat before. I have a wildly different background. I've been putting out the truth my entire career. Why would I risk all of it on this guy?
I believe you. Catch the letter.
Oh, yeah.
I believe you. I just think that, the problem is we've been fuming on this conspiracy for so long. And we love conspiracies, don't we?
No,
as a country,
it's
there's
good,
so
right?
much fun.
I mean, they make
JFK tapes. Come on, release the documents. We all love them. We love them. We love UFO ones. We love everything. We love the craziest conspiracies. They're exciting. We don't want to hear that he tried to kill himself in July and then succeeded in August. And look, I could imagine why the guy wanted to kill himself. He was going to jail for the rest of his fucking life, and in jail, sex offenders for children are not treated well.
And also, by the way, most Americans haven't, nor should they. Have you ever spent 1 minute in segregated housing?
No.
It's the worst. The absolute worst. Like, you and your background, you could probably handle it, right? Like, just in all reality. Most Americans, you put them in there for 5 seconds, they're going to slam their head against the wall. Literally. They're going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
It's that bad.
I'm sure. I could only imagine.
Now, Rogan always says he doesn't read comments or any criticism of him, but this was certainly not the case with the backlash he received for the Kash Patel episode. Because Rogan actually talked about it later on, and his response was as disappointing as the episode with Patel.
There is. And didn't the FBI dude say that there was nothing?
Kash Patel said there's nothing you're looking for. Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to push back.
Right. No, of course. I understand.
Obviously, he's saying what he has to say.
Right.
I mean, genuinely, what's the point of having the director of the FBI on your podcast if you're not going to push back? At that point, you're not interviewing, you're just serving as a propaganda machine for the FBI. Also, Rogan has become such a coward that anytime Trump is mentioned in a negative light, whether it's about his disastrous policies or his connections to the Epstein files, he scrambles to change the subject immediately. And if he does offer any criticism, is timid and half-hearted. Meanwhile, he's perfectly comfortable spending half an hour ranting about Bill Gates and Bill Clinton's ties to Epstein. Anyway, I think we've given Rogan and his political grifting enough airtime. Let's shift to a comedian with some principles, Bill Burr. He recently appeared on the Good One podcast, where the conversation turned to politics and comedy.
You're talking about the billionaires and politician stuff. What do you feel, and podcasters, what do you feel about politicians and billionaires who've appeared on podcasts of your peers to try to leverage comedy for their own goals?
Oh, dude, it was before that. I remember the first time I saw a president go on the Tonight Show. I thought it was cheapening The Office. It's like they never did that. Like when they used to run for office, they would have the debates. And they wouldn't even go on Meet the Press. So, but I just feel like now that everybody has a camera and blah, 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 it's just so all over the place. I just think the landscape of it has changed. All I can say is personally, I would never do it. I would never have somebody come on that's running for fucking president with my intellect. I'm not going to sit there and be like, what's your foreign policy? Like I would be like within 3 minutes, dude, what was your favorite Super Bowl? And then people would be like watching it going, I like that Super Bowl too. I'm going to vote for this guy. It's just like, it's just so far beyond my wheelhouse. Like I am just way beyond.
So I think Bill gave a spot-on description of the Rogansphere, where most of the time guys like Rogan and Schulz are just being used as mouthpieces to promote whatever agenda the politician or billionaire guest wants to push, knowing full well the pushback will be minimal if it comes at all. And as much as these grifters like to present themselves as informed political commentators, watching their interviews with Trump makes it painfully clear just how unprepared and out of their depth they really are. I think that's why it's so refreshing to see someone like Bill Burr, who openly admits he's not qualified to be interviewing the President of the United States, an honesty that's become increasingly rare in that space.
There's a difference between the people that read and the people that are the subject of what you're reading. You know what I mean? There's people that like discover shit and figure shit out, and then there's the people that read it. Like the amount of people that can explain the theory of relativity. That's probably not a lot of people, but they can do it. But then there's this ego thing that because now I can explain it like I'm somehow Einstein adjacent. It's like, no, you're not. You just read some smart shit.
Yeah.
That was a bit I used to do in my act where it's just like, there's nothing worse than when a dumb person reads because now they think they're smart. It's just like, no, you're just a dumb guy that knows a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like intellect to me is how you process information. It's not just reading a bunch of smart shit, putting in your head and then puking it out at people and be like, in 1492, that's not smart. You're torturing people.
Yeah.
So it's more like how you put stuff together. And like, somebody said to me one time, I go, Bill, you're a really smart guy. And I go, yeah, in a sports bar. You put me in a sports bar and you want me to talk about 70s and 80s sports. I am scoring very high.
Yeah.
All right. You put me in like that form to have to interview somebody that is going to run for president, and then as the sports bar guy, you're going to see like, yeah, this guy did go to summer school a lot. So, or whatever. It's like you're a smart guy. Compared to what?
Yeah.
It's all like sort of relative.
Right, so I think Bill actually nailed it. Most of these comedians kind of forget they're just that, comedians. Not to mention, some of them aren't even good at the thing they're supposed to be experts in. Rogan is a perfect example. His last special was an absolute disaster, and this is a field in which he's supposed to be very knowledgeable and experienced. Meanwhile, he couldn't even put together a decent hour. Now, I should also point out there's actually a lot of work that goes into properly conducting an interview with the President of the United States. Most serious journalists study the president's full record, recent speeches, executive orders, public debriefs, and past high-profile interviews. They also monitor briefing room transcripts and fact-check policies against independent data so the president doesn't get away with bullshitting for 3 hours. And frankly, I doubt any of the podcast bros do any of that. I think most of them would actually rather talk about which fast food chain is better.
And we'd land on an occasional visit to New York. You know what the first thing we did? McDonald's, and to be honest, Burger King. I like Burger King more.
What's your go-to at McDonald's?
No, I'll tell you, Burger King. We did the double,
Whopper?
The double.
I haven't ripped Burger King in a long time.
Burger King kind of sucks.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong.
The BK Lounge can hit.
I disagree completely.
You like Burger King over McDonald's?
That's your worst take, I think.
Absolutely.
That's a crazy take.
No, that was fine. I mean, I like Burger King. The answer is yes.
Now let's move on to another grifter, Andrew Schulz. After Trump won the election, he couldn't have been happier and even bragged that he and the podcast bros were one of the main reasons Trump ended up in office. And for once, I actually agree with Schulz. I do think they had a significant impact on the outcome of the presidential election.
This group influenced the presidential election of 2024.
Yo, listen.
Ain't that fucking crazy?
Don't even say influence. We decided.
We were the turning point.
Just know. And we'll be left out of everything, and that's fine. We don't give a fuck about the credit. We know what we do.
I don't need this credit.
It's fine. We'll be left out of everything. It's totally fine. It doesn't matter. That is the nature of things that we started. Everybody else does it. But he was not up until this pod.
It's true.
After the pod, he surges, 3 or 4%?
Yeah, it was a wrap, dude.
Mm-hmm. Never went back down after that. Okay?
Now, before we get into Schulz doing a full 180, let's take a look at some of his reasons for voting for Trump. Keep in mind, Schulz essentially turned his podcast into a political platform and branded himself as kind of a philosopher or intellectual. He even got a shout out from the New York Times calling him America's foremost political journalist. With all that in mind, you might assume Schulz supported Trump because of his policies, his economic plans, or his blueprint for the country over the next 4 years. But if that's what you thought, you'd be completely wrong. Schulz didn't vote on policy, he voted on vibes. Just vibes.
When I was younger, Democrats were cool. They were getting their dick sucked in the office. They were right? They were supportive of hip hop music. They said, do whatever you want. We don't want to be in your bedroom. They were cool with gay people. It was cool to be a Democrat. Now, conservatives got 3 baby mamas. The president got 3 baby mamas. He's getting pussy left and right. Right? He's cool. He's the one saying, say whatever the you want. So now conservatives have become Democrats. So I don't think I've changed. I just like the dudes that get pussy and say whatever they want. So it's you want me to be a Democrat again? Get some pussy. Tell me to say whatever I want. I'm there.
So this is the political insight coming from America's foremost political journalist. That tells you everything you need to know about whether you should ever take political advice from a guy like Andrew Schulz. His reason for voting for Trump wasn't policy, it was literally because Trump was getting laid. That's not just idiotic, it's downright embarrassing. If that's your metric for choosing a president, you should probably stay far away from anything resembling political commentary. And now that everything's gone to hell and Trump is completely off the rails, Schulz is suddenly having an epiphany. That maybe policy actually matters, that it affects real people's lives, and that voting based on vibes and locker room bravado might not be such a good move after all.
I believe that about Trump. I believe when Trump, everything he campaigned on, I believe he wanted to do. And now he's doing the exact opposite thing of every single fucking thing.
I don't know what he's done. Yeah, exactly to your point. If you tell me, it's easier for me to believe you wanted to do all these things if any of them were happening in the way that you said they would.
To that point, there'll be people that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Yeah.
I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do, except sending immigrants back. And now he's even flip-flopped on that, which I kind of like. But he's like, oh, well, we kind of need the people working in restaurants, and we need our farmers. It's like everything that he said that he was going to do that he campaigned
Well, he
really
said to
hard
us,
on.
which was...
Now, I think Schulz expected this particular podcast episode to land very differently than it did. He probably thought his audience would nod along and eat it up, but instead, most people saw right through the nonsense, they didn't buy his bullshit, and actually held him accountable in the comments. To answer Andrew saying, so we're stupid, the answer is a resounding yes for dismissing his documented history of lies and downright dictator worship, as well as ridiculing those who had been warning his second term was going to be a vendetta. I remember him laughing his ass off at Trump on his own podcast before the election talking about lying, acknowledging that he knew Trump was a liar. Now he says Trump isn't doing anything he promised to do. Yeah, dude, cause he's a liar. Imagine carrying water for this administration, then acting shocked when you find out they lied to you. Who was the president when Epstein was unalived? Who was friends with him for years and years? So after getting absolutely roasted in the comments, Schulz had a full-blown meltdown. He followed up the episode with 2 more, scrambling to shift blame, insisting that none of it was his fault and that, just like everyone else, he was simply duped by Trump's lies. Which frankly tells you everything you need to know about how closely America's so-called foremost political journalist actually follows politics. If you take into consideration that Trump had already been president once, and his first term gave you more than enough evidence, red flags, scandals, and outright chaos to know exactly who he was. If you still fell for it the second time, that's not just being duped, that's willful ignorance.
What's up, everybody? Apparently, we ruined America. You know, we were trying to hold the person in power, President Trump, accountable for not fulfilling some of his promises, and that was foolish, man.
Nah, you're an idiot,
That
dude.
was
You're
a
bad
foolish
person.
thing to do. Once you vote for somebody, no matter what they do, even if it's the exact opposite of what they say they're going to do, you just ride that until the wheels fall off.
Yes, double down.
Exactly.
Always double down.
Like if you vote for a guy that you know is dead, you pretend he's not dead for 4 years.
Exactly.
That's what makes you virtuous.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what makes you care about your country.
Pick a side, man.
Pick a side, and you die for that side.
Yeah.
You know, so that's, you know, that was a big fuck up of ours.
That was a big fuck up, man.
We just kind of wanted to know about Epstein, you know, victimizing 1,000 girls and who else he did it with. We just kind of wanted to know. And Trump was like, you're not going to know. And we were like, I don't like that.
Yeah, but
that's
being
our fault.
Yeah, that's being a bad American.
But we were being bad
A good
Americans
American
right
says,
there.
yes, T-Daddy, thank you so much.
Damn.
Can I have some more?
Yes,
That's what you're supposed to say. That's what a good American says.
Because a bad American would be like, yo, you said you were going to end these foreign wars and we're still just blowing up places we don't want to blow up anymore.
Yeah.
No.
But what would a good American do?
You just say, oh, thank you so much. Can I have another one?
Oh,
Yeah. That's what you said. Good American goes, yeah, exactly.
Okay. So a bad American would be like, wait. You said you were going to lower the deficit, but right now we're just...
Yes, bro. That's what you voted for. That's what you voted for. If you vote for that, then you got to stick with that the whole way through, no matter what.
Really?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, wow. That doesn't seem very democratic at all.
So I love how Schulz tries to play this whole act like, oh dude, I'm just like one of you guys, I just got duped by Trump, how could I have known? First of all, how many regular people get to have a 1.5 hour conversation with the President of the United States? Not many. And yet, all Schulz did during that conversation was tickle Trump's balls and have a giggle contest with him. And even after his audience spelled it out for him in the comments, Schulz still doesn't seem to get it. What people want from him is simple. Take accountability for endorsing Trump and admit that he seriously messed up. Instead, all we get is blame shifting and him painting his own audience as unreasonable or crazy for daring to criticize him. Now, what's worse is that guys like Schulz, these comedians turned political commentators, used to brag non-stop about how they were the new mainstream media, the ones that could be trusted, the real truth tellers. But the moment they get backlash from their own fans calling out the obvious bullshit, they retreat behind the same tired excuse of being comedians who should not be taken seriously. At the end of the day, what they really want is all the rewards, the audience, the money, the clout that come with being seen as a serious media figure, but with none of the responsibility. When traditional media gets something wrong, usually people hold them accountable. But Schulz wants none of that. He wants the perks of power without any of the consequences. Now, I feel like we've talked enough about Andrew Schulz and his political grift, so let's move on to some comedians who actually have some self-awareness. Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee. Basically, Santino and Bobby had Giannis on their podcast and ended up getting into a conversation about how some of their comedian friends took what should have been a comedy podcast and turned it into a political platform.
You know what makes me happy? It makes me happy to know that this show is still as stupid as it's always been from the beginning, because I see a lot of our podcast pals or people in our sphere that are taking these shows to a level that we don't go to.
Which is what?
Well, they're all having like politicians on.
journalists.
Tim got fucking interviewed by like CNN.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the fuck is going on?
Yeah, we stay here.
Same with hyenas.
We stay right
here. Yeah.
And I saw that they had Bernie on Schultz's show.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on?
He's not coming here.
Bernie?
Dude, we had David Mamet.
Yeah, Ben Affleck.
Yeah, but that's rad.
We got people that they can't get.
Yeah.
No, it's not that they can't get him.
Well, they can get him.
Yeah.
But we got him too.
I just don't think we want politicians on the show.
No.
I think that's a strange world.
Pete Buttigieg I'd have.
He's gay?
Yeah.
No thanks. Ban it. No.
It's getting a little muddled, right? It's getting a little. What's going on?
I just think podcasting, comedy podcasting is entering this world of like news or something.
Yeah.
And people are taking it serious. And it's not.
Well, there was an article after the election about how legacy media doesn't have the, power it once had, and that podcasting is now, replacing some of that,
That's not good.
Yeah.
We shouldn't replace it. This should be its own thing.
Yeah.
This is its own form of music. Do you know what I mean?
So I think Santino made a valid point when he said legacy media shouldn't be replaced by comedians with podcasts. And honestly, the reason is obvious. Most of these guys don't do any real research. They usually get their political talking points from the same mainstream media they claim to hate, or from alternative outlets like Breaking Points, which, unlike them, are actually run by people who know what they're talking about. Most comedians just regurgitate whatever they heard, slap on some fake insight, and act like they cracked the political code. Once again, Rogan is the perfect example. How many times has he brought up an article on his podcast where the only thing he read was the headline? It's lazy, it's hollow, and it's honestly embarrassing that these people call themselves journalists, when most of them can't even finish reading an article from start to finish. So just like with Bill Burr, it's nice to see Santino and Bobby Lee who are self-aware enough to come to that conclusion.
Well, like the news on TV was like the dictatorship, the regime, and then the internet was like an American military coup, and then there was a vacuum, and now comedians and like grifters are like warlords. They're like news warlords.
Whoa,
Yeah.
we're warlords.
Yeah, we're not warlords.
No, what are we?
We're like
War
Sweden.
boys?
You guys are like funny warlords.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used
We're
to
funny
be like
warlords, okay.
the dictator would be in control and give it. Now you're like marauding warlords in control of your own fiefdom.
Wow.
Bad for him. And Tim's got his fiefdom. We're all warlords.
Yeah.
Filling this vacuum.
But also,
from this coup.
We also, you probably know more than me, probably, but I don't know much.
In the world?
Yeah.
I only know what I read this morning.
Yeah, so me too. So my point is that we don't know enough to have these people on. We are goofy.
Yeah.
It's a comedy podcast.
Imagine Bernie Sanders coming. He's like, it's great to be here. And Bobby's like, what does your penis look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I wouldn't say that. Why you out of your fucking mind? Why would I say that?
What would you say? I'm Bernie Sanders.
I go to your political. I don't know, but my point. I wouldn't say that about your dick.
You get to penis
Yeah,
somehow.
Is your asshole gray?
See?
Okay, that'd be one of them. Yeah, you're right.
Is it though?
It brings big numbers, right? That's probably why people do. Because everyone's like talking. It didn't used to be this way. It didn't used to be everyone was into politics. Now.
So I think Giannis is absolutely right. Most of these political grifters like Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz dive into politics because of the numbers they get, and also lets them reach audiences they couldn't have reached before. For them, it's less about genuine belief and more about chasing money and riding whatever political trend is popular at the moment so they can cash in on the attention and influence. That said, it's refreshing to see comedians like Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino who, despite downplaying their influence, could have easily brought Trump onto their podcast but chose not to. They're self-aware enough to recognize they aren't equipped to handle the bullshit and lies some politicians spew, because at that point you're becoming a propaganda tool for whoever's sitting in front of you if you cannot push back on the lies and misinformation a political candidate might engage in. Now, let's move on to another political grifter, Tim Dillon, whose reasoning for Trump not releasing the Epstein files isn't that Trump is implicated in them, but that he's being threatened by the FBI or the CIA. Which is one of the dumbest excuses I've heard so far, and coming from Tim, who I thought was a pretty smart guy, it was not only disappointing but downright embarrassing. The moment you ask who appointed Kash Patel as the head of the FBI, or who made Tulsi Gabbard director of national intelligence, you realize that all of these people were put in positions of power by Trump himself. And now you're telling me that these are the ones supposedly threatening him and backing him into a corner, so much so that he refuses to release the Epstein files, when most of them won't even dare to criticize him in the slightest. You'd either have to be incredibly naive or painfully stupid to believe the excuse Tim Dillon is pushing.
Deeply evil, deeply troubling. I think Trump knows they'll kill him. I think Trump knows that they'll kill him. I think he does. Truly, I believe he knows that. I believe he knows that the people that killed all of those people would find a way to kill him if this came out. I believe that he knows that. I believe he believes that some faction of those people tried to kill him already. Don't quite know who. But I believe that is what he believes. I don't know that. I don't have any information on that. You know, like I can't tell you, like it's not like a guy, like I call, like someone told me that. I don't know what else evidence-wise you would need. I think Trump likes living. I think he's got a lot of good things about him and some bad things, but I don't know that he's a selfless hero. I don't know if you look at his life. I mean, yes, he's done a lot. You know, Bannon talks about, you know, the hero's journey or whatever, pumping the fist. All that's incredibly impressive. I don't know if he's dying for this. I don't know if he's dying to drop a dime on everybody. I can't. Now, there's financial reasons. He probably doesn't want it out, and there's business deals, and there's the future. But you got to remember, let's go back to the very real reality of the people that fuck with this die.
So I actually agree with Tim on one thing. Most of the people who had real dirt on the Epstein case conveniently ended up dead. And the guy who had the most, of course, was Epstein himself, who died in a federal prison during Trump's first term. That's not just suspicious, it's screaming red flags, especially considering the amount of dirt Epstein had on Trump. But of course, Tim would rather wave that off as just another freak coincidence. And since Tim loves to talk about powerful people wanting this case to disappear, maybe he can explain how the literal president of the United States doesn't count as one of the most powerful people on earth. Either Tim's being willfully ignorant or he thinks his audience is too dumb to notice the mental gymnastics. Now, Tim's political grift doesn't end here, because after he posted this podcast episode, he posted another one after having dinner with a member of Trump's administration. Most likely J.D. Vance, considering Tim already had him on his podcast.
Because we are going to now, I'm going to tell you about a dinner I had with a member of the administration. I'm going to tell you everything that I know, and I'm going to say the things that I do not know. And I am also not going to attest to the veracity, Google it, of the information, how true or false the information is. I'm going to tell you what I was told. Okay? It's not a defense of Trump. It's not a defense of the administration. In fact, I think if they do not release everything they have, they are done. I believe that. If they do not release, and I told them that, you need to release everything you have. Pam Bondi needs to be fired.
Now, I need to call this out because it's honestly pathetic how every time these political grifters bring up the Epstein files, they magically forget Trump's name. Instead, they toss all the blame on Pam Bondi like she's some rogue operator making independent decisions. It's one of the laziest, dumbest deflections imaginable. Let's be real, Pam Bondi isn't doing anything Trump didn't tell her to. She's not running her own shadow government, she's following orders. Does Tim seriously expect anyone with a functioning brain to believe that if Bondi ever went off script, Trump would just sit back and let it happen? I mean, this is the same guy who fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics for publishing numbers he didn't like. You'd think that he'd hesitate for a second to fire Bondi if she stepped out of line on Epstein of all things. I mean, Tim can honestly expect people to take him seriously when the excuses he gives are this weak and pathetic.
I went to Washington. We had a dinner. It was a small dinner. When did I go?
Wednesday.
I went Wednesday. Here's the rub. Jeffrey Epstein is an innocent man. I'm kidding. That's not the rub. That's not the rub. Yes, it's a blackmail operation. Yes, it was. Yes, this guy's got connections to intelligence. Everybody knows that. Yes, the intelligence is Mossad and CIA. Most likely. We all know that. Yes, he was running some type of a blackmail operation, procuring young girls for powerful people. A lot of this was on tape somewhere. When Pam Bondi came out and said, I have 10,000 hours of evidence, what has been told to me is that is porn Epstein downloaded from the internet. It is not the tapes of powerful people in compromising positions. And the person who told me that said, listen, I'm not saying those tapes don't exist. I'm saying that the person who has those tapes is either a foreign intelligence service, Ireland, is a guess, or a billionaire or billionaires, or they have been destroyed. You know, there isn't a tape of Bill Clinton fucking a 12-year-old that Pam Bondi has on her desk. She has commercial porn downloaded from the internet. The tapes that show incriminating things are with who's ever blackmailing these people. Again, this is what was told to me.
I mean, at this point, they're not even trying to come up with halfway believable lies. It literally sounds like someone asked a guy on the street to make something up on the spot, and that's what they went with. Also, it's painfully obvious Tim's been bought. He doesn't even fake it anymore. He's out here running PR for Trump like a loyal little foot soldier, which is honestly pathetic coming from a guy who built his brand ranting about deep state and corrupt politicians. Now he's leaking the boots of the exact kind of people he used to pretend to call out. And let's not sugarcoat it, Trump's name is literally in the Epstein files. If your name shows up there, let's be honest, you're not just shady, you're probably a full-blown PDF file. At the end of the day, this entire circus of political podcasting grifters, from Rogan to Schulz to Tim Dillon, is built on a foundation of bullshit. They posture as truth-tellers, anti-establishment voices, or edgy outsiders, but the moment real accountability knocks, they fold into spineless mouthpieces for the same power structures they claim to rebel against. Most of these guys have gone from exposing the system to running cover for it, shielding Trump with the kind of laughable, low-effort excuses that wouldn't pass a high school debate. When you're defending a guy whose name is in the Epstein files while pretending the real villain is Pam Bondi, you're not just dishonest, you're bought, compromised, and pathetic. The irony is that these guys love to rant about how the media manipulates the public, but now they're the ones pushing narratives, protecting predators, and gaslighting their audiences in real time. They've become exactly what they used to mock, and they're too shameless or too dumb to even realize it.